Denver, y'all. I can barely make it here from Richmond. This brother coming all the way from Denver. Okay, familia. Jozer Guerrero is a poet, musician, actor, MC, and motivational speaker and educator. His work has been featured on HBO, Unavision, PBS, American Theater Magazine, Button Poetry, and TED Talk. Jozer is also a 3-time individual award poetry slam finalist, 2-time Brave New Voices finalist, and 2-time national poetry finalist. He's also a member of the award-winning Chicano funk band, Los Mocochetes. Am I saying this right, hermano? That's my Pocho pronunciation.
Mocochetes.
Ooh, Los Mocochetes, yeah. And he's also on Denver's premier slam poetry team, Slam Nuba. He has dedicated his entire career to creating critical art and música that speaks on the issues our community face, seeking to inspire, inform, and mobilize the community with edgy lyrics, mesmerizing beats, and a powerful performance, which we're going to see right here, familia. Give it up for Jozer Guerrero.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I came from Denver. It was a nice long trip. I've been doing some shows here in the Bay Area for the last few days. It's always felt like home, or a second home at least. So, and it's glad to see some new faces that folks I haven't met before. So I'll be glad to talk and meet y'all afterwards as well. I'm going to read some poems off of my book. It's called Grab Your Rocks and Throw. I have some copies. This is how we make our living as touring poets, right? So if you have the means, come holler at me for a book. It has over 90 pages worth of poetry, and it's a good read. Yeah, I'm just gonna get into it so I can get as many poems as I can. This poem is called Hood Symphony. There was a young man that was killed by the police right outside of my house, and so I wrote this poem. The sounds of sirens and loud dogs barking play the background music of my hood. The smell of taco meat and pollo asado roam from house to house like a group of mocosos traviesos who refuse to go home for dinner. But you can still hear mama's sharp whistle calling for them. The rich developers salivate as they drive by, big dreams to steal. The dream homes our parents worked so hard for. When you hear the trucks roaring, that means the men are home from work and they'll be tired. And they want to watch novelas, even though they are meant for the women. And the children laugh. And then there's a gunshot. And the tires shriek. And the whole hood goes silent. All the parents make sure their kids made it home. And we all pray that all the kids made it home. Let's see. I got one for you. I'll read just another one from my book, and then I'll hop into some memorized ones so you can get the full performance. This one's called Frijoles on My Shirt. And it was actually inspired by this song that I heard Daniel Valdez was singing one time. I work in theater as well, and so I got the honor. The first play I ever did, Daniel Valdez was the director. My play was Oline, and so that was a cool experience. But anyways, so he had the song. It was called Chile on my Guayabera, and so it was inspired by it. There are more beans on my shirt than there are inside of my stomach. That's okay. Mama says that's how you're supposed to eat them anyway, because spoons are for the rich, and in this house, we use tortillas de maíz. Every morning, she sent me to the store for a fresh dozen. On my walk, I learned how much sweat it took to cook the perfect recipe. I always wonder how she cooked up feasts from pebbles of desert sand. I look down at my plate, and it looks like my ancestors' flags. Que sabroso. Oh. Keeping it going with my mother, this poem is called Whoopings. Jose David Guerrero Chavez Galvan, get your ass inside this house, cabrón? ¿Qué te dije la última vez, huh? What did I tell you last time? I remember hearing those words in my nalgas twitching like a pair of terrified chipmunks. It was time for a good old whooping. And my parents handed those out like the sky in Denver hands out snowstorms. My mother's cry was like thunder, cracking the night sky every time I gave her a reason to roar. Whoever said lightning never struck twice in the same place, must have never felt my mama's hands. But it wasn't just the hands that did the damage. See, my mother had the miraculous ability to transform any object into a weapon. I watched her mold chanclas into machetes and hairbrushes into grenades. These were our mannerism classes, lessons that I could recite like the back of my father's hands. See, he used to tell me he would hit me because he loved me. And I would wish that at my age, he had parents who cared enough to whoop him when he did something wrong too. Now quit moving, cabrón. You're only making it worse. This is gonna hurt me more than it's gonna hurt you. And I believed him every time he said that. I felt the salt in my father's tears splash the wounds he left on my back, and they still sting every time I hear my son cry. So the day I stand here, looking at my scars, and I ask myself, if I want to be the one that give my son his first. Oh, and the answer is usual, because I know one day he's gonna say something that's gonna make me want to grab him by his big old ear, but I'll explain to him that in our neighborhoods, whoopings can sometimes feel warmer than a father's hug. And for all the parents out there dealing with the same dilemma, you'll remember, life beats our kids enough as it is. But let's use our hands to help pull them back on their feet instead of beating them to the ground. Yes. Maybe just two more. This poem is called 43. It was inspired. I was watching the news with my mother, and so I learned about the tragic story of the 43 and Ayotzinapa. And so I asked myself, I asked my mother a question that kind of triggered this poem. And so I won't say anymore, I'll just get into it. Have you seen this picture? Have you seen this picture? Have you seen this picture? In this picture, Jose was only 7, the same age as his son. At this age, he was loud, could sing any tune on the radio, and as you can see, he refused to wear clothes. I love this picture. He's so innocent and full of smiles, full of life, so comfortable in his own skin. My mother speaks the most beautiful words. She loves to read through the memoirs she's captured in our family photo albums. Each image an elaborate story she will share with my son. When she's not reminiscing, she loves to watch the news. Primer impacto. She says, those news anchors are just a bunch of chismosos like the women in Juarez, mijo. I smile, but you can't hold a smile for long when you watch the news in Spanish. It's all blood and civil war, all neo-colonialism and drug trafficking. On this day, they're filming live from Iguala, Guerrero, Mexico, a city known best for its beautiful flags and its missing children, all 43 of them. It has been 1 year since the mysterious disappearance of News correction, it has been 1 year since the kidnapping and murder of 43 student activists from Ayotzinapa, stolen by Mexican police and burned by a dump. This is what happens when brown children get too loud in public places. We turn them into crime scenes and news segments into ashes and reduce them to their baby pictures. On today's episode, we will be speaking live with two mothers of the disappeared. Both women tired and soft-spoken. So used to their words going unheard, they never imagined they'd reach stardom for pleading for the lives of their vanished sons. Ha pasado un año. It has been 1 year since our sons were taken from us. Our hands have grown weary from praying the rosary. Our fingers Still paper cut, bleeding from holding too tight to their last photos. We are shaking, not from fear, but from anger. So we want them back alive because that's how you took them. We are starving for answers. So will you please help us? ¿Ha visto el muchacho en esta foto? ¿Ha visto el muchacho en esta foto? Have you seen my son in this picture? And no one ever will. And as I watch the news, I can't help but notice the similarities between these women and my mother. They all know the meaning of sacrifice so well, so I ask a question. No trigger warning, I can shoot mama. Which picture would you choose if that was me? And she does not answer. But the wells building underneath her eyes gave me the only answer I needed. No mother should ever be burdened to have to choose the last picture the world will remember their child by. And to this day, those women still believe those boys are alive. Walking down the streets of Mexico, wailing the names of their stolen sons. They are modern day lloronas, holding headshots full of headshots. There is blood on that president's hands, and here I stand, telling the story like it's foreign. Like our news aren't flooded with shots of brown and black boys being shot. So let me ask you a question. Have you seen their pictures? Have you seen their pictures? If you haven't, all you have to do is open your eyes. Thank you. I got one more poem for y'all. Okay? I got one more poem. This poem is called Borderline Crazy. And yeah, I wrote this poem a long time ago, and unfortunately it's still quite relevant. So I'm not gonna stop reading it until it doesn't even make sense to read this poem. So this poem is about immigration. It goes like this. If the U.S. were to crumble, would Americans jump over their own borders and flock the streets of Mexico City? Would they seek refuge in Darfur or Somalia? I bet you our perception on immigration would change very quickly. If Donald Trump were to cross the desert, he would probably die from sunburn. A brown skin is proof of survival. It is a battle wound from our journey to this country. But you pray to Lord Tezcatlipoca for a darker shade of skin and a wider set of feet? Have you ever been so thirsty that your throat turned into the parchment politicians write racist laws onto? If the president's children were stripped from them and deported over to Kenya, they would have banned SB 1070 at once. They would regret not teaching them the native tongue and never bothering to learn it themselves. They would curse their government for allowing their skin to become lighter behind the shadows of the White House. Do you think they would trust their daughters' lives in the hands of a coyote? Shit, would you? If the sounds of stomachs rumbling reminded you of bullets, would you be afraid of hunger? If your children cried for food, would you steal a piece of bread for them? If you've answered yes to any of these questions, then why would you blame anybody for coming to America? All they seek is food and shelter. So break bread. It's not like we weren't the ones who baked it for you in the first place. Can you see the immigrant bones that your homes have been built with countertops made from their spines and kitchens where too many immigrants have touched your food and call it American? Do you still call this a home? Have we forgotten that the pilgrims crossed over on boats? So tell me, shit, who are the wetbacks now? If the sun and the moon slide through our borders every day without showing a visa, then why should we have to? If a person is not welcome in their home or anyone else's, does this make them nomadic? Do you think people enjoy being pushed out their own home? You think they leave for no reason? Do you know what it feels like when both of the languages on your tongue try conquering each other? ¿Tienes miedo cuando hablamos en español? Does it frighten you when we speak in Spanish? Pero te da más miedo cuando hablamos en inglés. But it frightens you more when we speak in English. Esta siempre será nuestra tierra. And no, we will not translate that. But I will translate this. Humano. human. Binatabu, human. Mensch, human. Mandia, human. Daritsan, human. Ka'ameka, human. Bila Ashla'i, human. Let them eat. Let them eat. Let our people eat. Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity. I appreciate it. Like I said, I got some books to sell. If anybody want to help a brother out, appreciate it. I'll be around. Thanks so much.